Okay, thank you so much for the confirmation. So let us start today's session. So today's session, we are going to discuss about the batch management feature that is available in TallyPrime, right? So agenda is about to take you through the batch management enhancement that we are having in TallyPrime, or in earlier versions of Tally RP9 also this was available. So we will take you through how exactly you will be able to manage your stock storage using the batch management feature. Right. So first of all, when I talk about the batch management, so what exactly the purpose of the batch to be enabled, right? So usually batches are used to manage the goods shelf life. For example, if you are having a pharmacy wherein the primary of your goods are medicines, right? Or you are having the perishable goods or the goods for human consumption, like it could be the retail store wherein whatever the goods related to the human consumption, like it could be pulses, cereals, right? So whatever food related items are there that you are dealing with, so any particular stock item which is having a shelf life, that is it is having a specific life within which it has to be consumed, right? So those kind of items will be managed under batch management feature. So it's not only used by our users only to manage the shelf life of the particular stock item. So sometimes what happens is, in case if you are storing the particular stock item into different racks, right? So different racks or different storage units also, you can create it as batch and you can use it. So there are different various ways through which a batch management feature will be used today. But the primary reason why we have given this batch feature in TallyPrime is to manage the goods shelf life. So whichever particular stock item is having a manufacturing date or whichever stock item is having an expiry date, in order to manage that particular item's movement, whether you have to make that particular inventory movement outward, or whether it has to be consumed within the expiry date. So in order to manage such kind of movements, this particular feature will be helpful. So what is the major benefit of this batch management? So basically it will help you to track inventory. So in case if you have purchased a lot of items, right, under a particular batch which has a specific expiry date. So while making the sales, you'll be able to track the different batches of that particular stock item through which you want to make a movement or through which you want to make a sales. So you will be able to know that which are the batches which are going to expire very soon and which are the batches which are going to expire later, right? So based on that, you can make the plan for the consumption or for make the plan for the sales. So it will also ensure you proper item movement. So in case if some of the items have been expired, right? So you do not want to sell those kind of items. So by default, Tally will allow you to restrict selecting such kind of batches which are already expired, so that you'll be able to avoid all such things, and whichever the expired batches are there, you'll be able to track such items quantity separately, and you can take a decision whether you want to just write off such kind of expired items or how you want to treat it in the books of accounts, right? And also it will help you to ensure the proper stocking. So basically based on the expiry dates you are tracking for the particular stock items, right? So you'll be able to understand that whether you are having so many of stock which is going to expire very soon. So you have to write them off and you have to make a purchase decision. So such kind of stocking decisions also you'll be able to make out when you are using the batch management feature in TallyPrime. So here for the demonstration purpose, have created a demo company with the name as batch management in TallyPrime, just for the easy identification. So in case if you have not at all managed this particular feature in the past in your live data, before enabling this feature, we recommend you to take the data backup, or in case if you're just enabling this feature for the practice purpose, then you can create a demo company like how I have created one here, and then you can practice it. Okay, so once you are thorough, then you can implement or you can enable in your live data. So first of all, in order to enable the batch management feature, so it is a part of inventory stock management. So you have to navigate to this Alt K company option. So you'll click on this Alt K company. So here you have to navigate to F11 features. So under the F11 features, you can see the bifurcation is given accounting and inventory features. So under the inventory features, you can see this option, right? Enable batches. So you will be enabling the batches option. So along with the batch or the lots numbers that you want to give, if you want to track the expiry dates for the particular batch also, then you can enable this second option. So if you want to track only the manufacturing date, there is no expiry date, right? So in that scenario, you can disable this option. And in case if you are dealing with the goods which are having the expiry dates, and then you can enable this option. So I'm enabling both the options, maintain expiry date for batches. So after enabling, obviously, in order to use this feature, I need to have the stock items created, right? So I'll be creating the stock items now. So you can decide whether for whichever stock items you want to track the batches or you want to provide the expiry date. So for example, if you are having the fixed assets and if you have created them as your stock items, or if you are having the office consumable items, like it could be notepad, pen, or office supplies, whatever you provide to your employees, you do not want to track an expiry date. So such items, if they are not having any manufacturing date or expiry date like notepads, pens and all, then obviously you can just disable the batch feature for such kind of items. So that is the reason today the configuration of batch is item specific. So it is not that once we enable in F11 features, it will become applicable in all the items. So that is not the case. So whichever stock item should be maintained with this manufacturing date and expiry date, only for those items you can enable this option. So here I'll be creating a stock item now. So I'm just giving the name as medicines. So here you need to provide the units of measure. So if you do not provide the units of measure, you will not be able to enable the batches. So here you can see once I configure the units in which I want to quantify this particular stock item, you can see this maintain in batches option is highlighted over here. So in whichever stock items you require this option, you can enable or disable this. So I will be enabling this option maintain in batches for this particular stock item. So once I enable, here you can see I will be getting further two more options whether I want to provide the date of manufacturing. So if the particular stock item will be having date of manufacturing and you want to track it, you can enable the same thing. And next is use expiry dates. So for whichever stock items it is applicable, you can enable and disable. So just pausing here to understand if the enablement part in the stock item, is it clear? Any questions? Okay, so there are no any questions, so we'll proceed here. So here you can see in case if I want to provide any opening stock also, just 1 minute. So you can provide the opening balance also even while providing the opening balance. So here you can see the batch option is available. So you can allocate the batches here. For example, I'm giving batch 001. What is the manufacturing date of it, right? And within how many days it is going to expire. So this expiry date, either you can provide it in the date specific or you can just mention in the days also. Once you provide the days, it will automatically convert it into date and it will also capture the information. Okay, so here while mentioning the opening balance also, you'll be able to provide the closing balance as on last year, whatever the batches had different stock available. So accordingly, you'll be able to configure here. So now let us see how you'll be able to do the transactions, right? So during the transactions, how you'll be able to allocate the new batches. For example, I'm making a purchase here. Let me change the date to today's date. So I'm creating a vendor ledger here. I'm creating a purchase ledger. Okay, so once I press enter here, so here you can see in case if to the same batch, if you want to allocate, you can select the same thing, or here you can select the new number. So as per the purchase, whatever you're making, whatever the batch number that you have got, so that you can specify over here. Mention the quantity. And here you can see by defaultly this manufacturing date will pick the voucher date, right? So obviously the manufacturing date of this item when you purchase might be the prior one. For example, this was manufactured as on 1st of September, right? So you can mention the same thing over here, or it could have been manufactured as on 2nd of September. So you can mention the same thing over here, and it is going to expire in another 100 days. So you can mention it in 100 days also, as days also, or specifically as month also you can specify. For example, here if I mention as month, the same thing will be captured over here. So accordingly in your reports, this particular month will be converted into this date, and then it will be displayed over here. Or if you want to mention it is in 1 year, so that is also accepted. So whatever the periodicity you want to mention, either as date or either as a periodicity, you'll be able to provide over here. So currently I'm just making it as 100 days. So if you want to allocate new batches, like for example, some of the batches, some of the items are belonging to 009 batch, and some of the items are belonging to the next batch, right? So in that scenario, I will be considering accordingly here as new number. I'll press enter and accept it. Right? So in this way, you'll be able to allocate the batches. So now let us navigate to the inventory reports. So I will navigate to stock summary. So under stock summary, what it will display, whatever the stock as on date is available, right? So the same will be displayed over here. So now for this particular stock item, the closing quantity here it is displaying. So if you are going to press Alt F1, right? So if you press Alt F1 over here, so it will show you the information at the batches level. So under every batch, what is the stock that is available, right? And at what rate it is available, what is the quantity. So here the breakup will be provided. So accordingly, not only this particular report, so we do have a specific report for batches also. So you can navigate to either from click on go to option, or you can click on this inventory books. So under the inventory books, you can see there is a summary of batches. So at every batch level, if you want to understand what is the movement of the inventory, so you can select the stock item here, and here you can select a specific particular batch. So here under this particular item and under this particular batch, whatever the transaction that have happened, right? So item wise, batch wise. So this is the report that is applicable. So here on this particular report, on the right hand side, you can see we do have an option of batch wise, right? So on the right hand side, there is a F8 batch wise option. So just click on that so that for the particular stock item, it will show the inventory movement of all the batches. So here on this report, you can press F12, right? So under the F12, if you want to understand the manufacturing date, expiry date, right? And how many number of days are still available to get expired. So here it will be displayed. So it will consider the periodicity that you have given for the report. So from in case if the manufacturing date was 2nd September, right? And considering that, it will show you for this particular period till days, how many days are, sorry, considering this 100 days. So it will show you how many number of days till expiry, right? So 2nd September, another 100 days it will add, and it will show you how many days are there for the expiry over here. So now in case if I make this report as 31st March 2025, so obviously considering this 100 days, it is already expired. So it will not show you the number of days till expire, right? So based on the report periodicity that you are viewing, Here number of days till expiry will be displayed. So this batch summary report will be available for you, so that at an item level, if you want to know the various batches under which you have made the transactions and what is the closing quantity of that particular stock item under different batches. So for that tracking, you'll be able to refer this batch summary. So not only from here, you'll be able to track this. Okay, so you can just click on this go to option. So under the go to option, you can simply refer this batch summary. So just enter on this. So directly you will be able to navigate to this particular batch summary report. Okay, so now let us move forward to the sales. So now as on 30th of September, I'll be recording the sales. So here I'll select the stock item. So once you select the stock item, here you can see by defaultly Tally will display all those batches which are active, right, which are yet to expire. So the expired batches will not list here. Okay, so here you can select the particular batch from which the inventory allocation has to happen. And one more thing is very important. So in whichever batches you are having the stock, from the same batch you are supposed to make the outward transaction. So we have seen many users what they will do, they will record the inward transaction or the purchases in under one particular batch, but while making the sales there will be misallocation of batches. So some people will also select the expired batches, or they will just create a new batches over here. So all those things will lead to the incorrect stock values, right? So you will end up having the incorrect closing stock value or incorrect closing stock quantity. So you need to ensure that whenever you are using the batch feature, in whichever batches you are making a inward transaction, from the same batch you are supposed to make the outward transactions. Okay, so here I'll select 75. I mentioned this manufacture and expiry date. So obviously you would like to print that while issuing the invoice to your customer, right? So what you can do whenever you are making this kind of a sale, selecting the batch, you can go to the print configuration. So under the print configuration, just click on configure. And here you can see this option, show batch details, right? So you need to enable this option so that you will be able to print the manufacturing date and expiry date and what is the batch number. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay, just 1 minute. I'll just see why this is not getting printed. Okay, I guess I need to save the voucher. So just I'm saving this voucher, press Control A. Then I'm going to the navigation of the alteration. Okay. So currently I'm using certain customization, so because of which it might not be printing. But in the sales invoice, if you want the batch details to be printed to your customer, so you can enable this particular F12 configuration option over here. So by enabling this show batch details, you'll be able to print the batches through which you have allocated the stock details for the particular stock item. So that you will be able to print it. So currently I'm not able to showcase that because I'm using certain add-ons here. Might be that is conflicting. Okay, so not only in this particular sales voucher, so when whichever voucher type you're going to select this particular stock item, in all those particular voucher types, it will be asking you to allocate the batch or create a new batch number. So you need to ensure that as per the specification of the particular batch, you will select the batch allocation. Otherwise, your inventory values may go wrong. And now when it comes to stock summary, you can see by pressing Alt F1. So you can see from the batch one, we have removed 75 numbers. That means we have allocated 75 numbers. So here it will show you when exactly this was happened, right? So accordingly, your closing stock valuation will be taken care. So in the data, if you start managing the batch features, right? So what Tally will do for closing stock valuation is at every batch level, the closing stock valuation will happen. So in case if you're using the average cost or if you're using the first in, first out method, right? So based on whichever closing stock method that you are using for the valuation sake, so at the batch level, Tally will be doing the closing stock valuation. So after doing at the batch level, the consolidated value will be shown over here, which is nothing but sum up of all the values from across all the batches for the particular stock item. A question, does the system allow to enter the expired batch details? No, it will not allow. So let me show you that. Okay, so currently I'm going to record this sales voucher as on 1st Jan 2025. Okay, so already all my batches have been expired now because I had set as 100 days, right? So I'll navigate to particular stock item. So here under the F12 configuration, the batches are showing there even though it is expired, because here you can see use expired batches for stock items I have enabled. So by default, this will be disabled in Tally. So if you enable this option, then it will start showing you the expired batches. So if you do not want the expired batches to be shown whenever you are recording a transaction, you can disable this option. Use expired batches for stock item. Right, so once I press enter, here you can see the expired batches, all the 3 batches are expired as on 1st of Jan 2025. So here it will not list out anything. So in this way, you will be able to avoid the sales of such stock items of the respective batches. Okay, so here you might have observed there is one option, another option also, show batches with zero quantity, right? So in case if a particular batch in whichever you have made an invert or in whichever you have made the production, so completely it has been sold out, right? So the quantity has become zero in it. So in that scenario, still if you want that batch number to be displayed in the transaction, you can enable this option. Otherwise, if you do not want the batch names which has become zero, right? So it may lead to the incorrect selection of that particular batch, right? So if you want to restrict the users from selection, you can disable this option, show batches with zero quantity. So I'll disable this option. Okay, so now say suppose as on 30th of September, I'll select the stock item. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'm just making it as 100 so that it is 0. Right, so now in this particular batch, I'm having 0 over here. So I'll navigate to sales now. So here I'm just getting the remaining batches which has the quantity, right? So if I press F12, so here you can see this option, right? Show batches with zero quantity. I've disabled this, so that is the reason it is not displayed over here. So if I enable now, okay, so again, this is not getting refreshed. So I'll check it out whether the add-ons are causing the issues in my application. So that is how the particular functionality will behave. So once we press F12, and if we just enable or disable this option, so accordingly, you will get the display of the batches with zero quantity or without zero quantity. So you can decide that what exactly the batches has to be displayed whenever you're making any outward transaction. So same thing, not only for this purchase and sales, but even in the other inventory vouchers, right? So for example, you are making a consumption of the particular stock item. So you can just go here For example, some of the stock items have been just want to consume it. You want to write it off, right? So you can just select that particular batch. So what I mean to say is across all the voucher types, in whichever you are going to select this particular stock item, right? So you need to ensure that proper allocation of batches you are going to have. Otherwise, as I mentioned, there will be incorrect valuation of the inventory. So when I navigate to stock summary, so here whatever the closing stock value will display and closing stock quantity will display, that will not be proper. So I have demonstrated about the batch summary feature. So now you may ask that I do have several items with the batches. So I want all the items to be listed under one report with different batches that has been allocated to it, so that I want to have all the items with all the batches in a single report, right? So now let us create two more items. Okay, so now I've created another item also. So if I want to view all the items of all the batches under one particular report, so here you can click on this go to option, and here you can search for stock aging analysis report. So just click on the stock aging analysis report, select primary. So here you can see that by defaultly, since I have enabled in other companies, it has got enabled. So otherwise, by defaultly, when you navigate to this particular report, stock aging analysis, you will be able to see all the stock items here, right? So here, if you press Alt F1 for the detailed mode, so you'll be able to see all the active batches in which the stock is available. And also based on this expiry date, you'll be able to set the aging to understand how much of the stock, that is how much of the quantity of this item is going to expire in the near future. So you can set this aging style also here. So you can click on this aging style, and whether you want to apply the aging style by the expiry date or whether the stock items are going to be expired, right? So I'll just click on this by expiry date and click on this aging period F6 option. So here I'm just mentioning 10, 20, 30, right? I'll accept it so that as on 30th April, so how much of the stock is going to be expired, is having the expiry date within the 10 days, 10 to 20 days, 20 to 30 days. So whatever the aging period that we have mentioned, based on that, the same thing will be displayed over here. So I'm just selecting to be expired now. So to be expired means it will consider the expiry date. So more than 30 days it is falling. So currently I'm viewing the report as on 30th September, but this particular batch is going to expire as on 11th of December, right? So that is the reason here it is falling under greater than 30 days. So if I change the period as 30th November, so accordingly, again, the days will change, right? So currently I'm viewing the report as on 30th of November, and this particular batch is going to expire as on 11th of December. So 11th of December and 30th of November, so there is a difference of 11 days, right? So that is the reason that this particular batch quantity is showing under it is going to expire in next 10 to 20 days. So that is what the report is giving the inference. So with the stock aging analysis report and using this aging style option, you'll also be able to infer using the batch details, like how many of the batches are going to expire in and how many days, right? So this will also plan you to better plan your sales, consumption, or the production activities. You can plan better. So this report will is not only useful when you are using batches, also when you are using godowns or without godowns or batches also, it will be helpful for you, so that you will be able to understand as on date how many of the stock items what is the age of that particular stock item. So the older of the age of that particular stock item, obviously you will take a decision whether you want to, how you can quickly consume that, right? So whether you want to make a sale or whether you will not be able to make a sale, whether you want to write off that particular value, whether you want to consider that as a damaged or it is obsolete stock item. So these kind of decisions you will be able to make out from this stock aging analysis report. And also when you are using the batches, this report will be helpful to you to understand the expiry of the particular batches considering the different aging values. Any questions on this stock aging analysis report? Is it clear why we have taken you through the stock aging analysis report showcasing the aging styles, which includes the batch information? Okay, there is a question from Himanshu ji. Should inter-branch transfer of stock at certain markup be using batches? Inter-branch transfers are different concept, Himanshu ji. So inter-branch transfer means you are just transferring the goods from one particular branch to another, right? So again, that falls under the GST compliance. So as per the GST compliance, if your branch is located in the same state, so obviously it will be just considered as branch transfer. If it is available under different state, so if it is located in a different state, then IGST will come into picture over there, right? So it's not that whether you're using batches or not. So during the allocation, you can use batches for inter-branch transfer of the transactions. So it is nothing to do with the inter-branch transfers. As per the law, you are supposed to treat that as a sales, Himanshu. So when the branches are located in a different state, so since the GSTN will be different, so that is the reason you have to treat that as a different sales. And for one GSTN, it will be a sales, and for another GSTN, it will be a purchase. But it will be at the same rate. So since you are maintaining both the GSTN data in the same company, if you are doing that, then accordingly your closing stock valuation will be accounted. So if you're having the batches, then obviously in whichever batch you are going to make a sale, same batch number you need to select while making the purchase in another GSTN, and so that then only it will be having a write-off. Otherwise, if you are going to have a new number, new batch number in the same data, then obviously it will show a markup value. So that you need to correct it. Okay, Arvind Shah is having a question. May I request you to please show one transaction for normal stock consumption where no manufacturing date and no expiry date. So, Arvind ji, you just want to give the batch name, but you don't want to give any expiry date or manufacturing date. Is that your question? Okay, so that is also possible, right? So, for example, I'm going to create a new stock item. So I'll just enable the batches. I'll not enable any manufacturing or expiry date. Okay. So let me provide the opening stock for this. So when you're providing the opening stock, you can just allocate the batches. Or I can just give the location rack 1, 500. Rack 2, 300. It contains some different codes. Rack 3. Okay, so I'm just giving the breakup of the particular batches, right? So if you want to do the consumption, obviously you'll be using this stock general voucher. So under the stock general voucher, under the source or consumption, you can select the particular stock item, and here you can select the particular batches, right? So here, for example, 10 has been consumed. In that scenario, you'll just enter under the consumption. Or if you have made a sales, you can just record the sales. So now if you navigate to stock summary, accordingly it will show the reduction of the quantity. So I'll press F12 here and I'll enable this opening balance inwards and outwards so that we can have a clear picture. So under rack 1 we have 500 numbers. So 10 numbers have been sold. So remaining it will show as 490. So this is how, in case if you do not provide any manufacturing date or expiry date, so only at the batch level it will be showing you the quantity details. So in Tally, with the only batch name or with only batch name and manufacturing date, or with manufacturing date and only expiry date also, you can manage it, right? So in all the ways, you will be able to enable or disable the options in the particular stock item. And one more scenario wherein we have observed that some users, they will enable the batches for the particular stock item. They will use for certain transactions, and after that you will go and disable it in the item master. So I'll just navigate to this particular batch stock item, right? So I've already allocated. So here you can see once you use this particular batches under the transaction, you will not be able to disable this because the database will be containing this batch information. So that is the reason here we will not be providing the option to disable it once again. So in case in for future transaction, you do not want to manage the batches for this item, there is only way that you need to create a new stock item master only without batches. Otherwise, in the existing item master, you will not be able to apply any changes. Okay, Arvind Chaji is having a question. Stock consumption if missed to post entry on closing of last day, how consolidated entry can post for each raw material stock? So Arvind Ji, you have to use the same stock JV. Select all the stock items which are your raw materials and you can just post it. So Tally is not tracking whether you are doing on time or whether you have missed it, right? So as and when you want to record the transaction, mention that date and you will be able to record the stock JV. You can select all the stock items in one stock JV. So as an example, I just gave you the scenario wherein I have just selected one stock item, but you can select multiple stock items in the stock JV. So here you will be able to select multiple stock items. And you will be able to record the transaction. Any other questions? Okay, so I would like to take you through the help options. So this is about the batch management feature, so which is very simple. You just need to enable in F11 features, then enable in the stock item master, and you'll be able to start using it in the transactions, and also you'll be able to extract the batch specific reports or batch summary report, wherein for a particular stock item you will be able to view all the batches, or you can navigate to the stock aging analysis, wherein you will be able to view all the stock item details with all the batches, right? So this is about batch management feature.